sorry for anyone who's just coming into this after the fact. So the ribbon is a very important part of the breast cancer story and our history, and probably where we're headed too. And I'd like to actually share the pink ribbon story that, again, I like Google. I think Google pulls up some great things. So I just one day was like, I'm gonna Google the pink ribbon story. And Komen's site came up. And this is not to bash any particular organization. I am grateful for every organization that is doing something in the breast cancer space. But the pink ribbon, their story as they share it, is that a pink ribbon symbolizes breast cancer awareness. The merging of ribbon and symbolism in the United States came about in two huge leaps. The first occurred in 1979, when a wife of a hostage who'd been taken in Iran was inspired to tie yellow ribbons around the trees in her front yard, signaling her desire to see her husband come home again. Step two occurred 11 years later, when AIDS activists looked at the yellow ribbons that had been resurrected for soldiers fighting the Gulf War and turned the ribbon bright red, looped it, spruced it up, and sent it on to the national stage during the Tony Awards to represent those affected by AIDS. The stage was set for the evolution of the breast cancer awareness ribbon. Susan G. Komen for the Cure, trademark, has used the color pink since its inception in 1982. The first Komen Race for the Cure logo design was an abstract female runner outlined with a pink ribbon and was used during the mid-1980s through the early 1990s. In 1990, the first breast cancer survivor program was launched at the Komen National Race for the Cure in Washington, D.C. The survivors wore buttons that were printed in black and white. Later that year, the survivor program developed and pink was used as the designated color for Komen to promote awareness and its programs. Pink visors were launched for the survivor recognition. In 1991, pink ribbons were distributed to all breast cancer survivors and participants of the Komen New York City Race for the Cure. Then in 1992, Alexandra Penny, editor-in-chief of Self magazine, wanted to put the magazine's second annual Breast Cancer Awareness Month issue over the top. She did this by creating a ribbon and enlisting the cosmetics giants to distribute them in New York City stores, and thus the birth of the pink ribbon. In 2007, 25 years after its inception, the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation changed its name to Susan G. Komen for the Cure. The name change was accompanied by a new brand image. The new logo included a pink running ribbon designed specifically for Komen for the Cure. This ribbon signifies the promise Komen founder Nancy G. Brinker made to her dying sister, Susan G. Komen, to do what she could to end breast cancer. Today, any generic pink ribbon can be used to represent breast cancer awareness, while the Komen running ribbon is reserved solely for use by Susan G. Komen for the Cure. Or so the story goes. Actually, the original breast cancer ribbon was started by a woman who was 68 named Charlotte Haley. And she was the granddaughter, sister, and mother of women who had dealt with breast cancer. She created peach-colored loops that were handmade in her dining room. Each set of 5 peach ribbons came with a card saying the National Cancer Institute annual budget is $1.8 billion. Only 5% goes for cancer prevention. Help us wake up our legislators in America by wearing this ribbon. She distributed those across the country and soon gained national attention. This is when Self magazine called. It was Alexandra Penny from Self magazine who wanted to partner Charlotte Haley's peach ribbon with Estee Lauder in order to create more awareness. Charlotte Haley chose not to. She decided she wanted to keep with her grassroots efforts and maintain her method of promoting the peach ribbon and breast cancer awareness. Well, since the peach ribbon wasn't trademarked, Self magazine and Estee Lauder went on to create a pink ribbon of their own, putting it on the cover of Self, and now the pink ribbon was born. So one of the things about the pink ribbon story is that even in and of itself was kind of appropriated from someone who was already doing this work and taken over by large corporate enterprises. Now, we also acknowledge all of the work that has come from the Pink Ribbon campaign and the corporate, corporations behind it. But pink the pink ribbon in some ways has become rather controversial, even the color pink. Have any of you ever heard the term pink washing? Yeah, okay. So pink washing is a term that's used when a company uses the ribbon or the color pink to promote breast cancer awareness for their profit without the benefit to those impacted. And the question becomes, when you see a company selling a pink hand mixer or a pink whatever, or t-shirts with anything to do with breast cancer on them, especially this time of year, who's actually benefiting from the sale of that? I'm not saying companies shouldn't make money off of their efforts, right? That's of course, companies are, that's what they're there to do. But unfortunately, there are people who will always take advantage, and it has become more and more prominent that you will have companies promoting products that they say are about breast cancer awareness, and there's no dollar amount, there's nothing of depth behind it, going to research, going to funding, or actually even going to support real people that are affected by breast cancer. So pinkwashing is a real problem. And the good thing is, I think there are more and more people becoming aware of it and calling it out, but it is important. It's a part of cancer culture that the only way to really stop it is to, every time you're buying that pink thing that's associated, that now has breast cancer associated with it, is to ask, where is that money going? What is it that particular awareness effort or whatever it might be, what is it doing? And the other reason that it's sometimes becoming, I think, controversial is because there's anger and frustration about focus on awareness, but not really seeing the whole picture. One of the things I know that the football players in the NFL often wear their pink socks this time of year. To my knowledge, I don't think there's any money that actually, I'm not saying maybe individual players or something, but like that effort doesn't actually have anything tied to it other than the idea of awareness. Well, I could say everyone in this room is pretty well aware of breast cancer. And I know that we need to continue to educate about early detection, because I see, especially young women, all the time saying, I didn't think it could happen to me. I never had to think, I never knew, I didn't have a family history. And so yes, early detection is critical, but breast cancer awareness and the pink ribbon are often focused on early detection. And when you do your research, and it doesn't take much to look into this, while we are finding cancers earlier and earlier, we are still experiencing a lot of death. And that is because stage 4 breast cancer does not get the awareness that it really needs. Because ultimately, 1 in 3 women who faces an early stage breast cancer, which is stage 1, 2, or 3, will experience a recurrence of stage 4. And at this time, there is no cure. Most organizations give anywhere from 2 to 5, and this is breast cancer organizations, like the large orgs, give 2 to 5% to stage 4 research. So if we want to stop losing people to this disease, we need to start making sure that our awareness is focused on the big picture. Okay, societal perception. Now this is a big part of cancer culture, and this is what you were starting to get at, right? And I have a picture here, and I wish that it was up on the screen, but that's okay. I'm gonna share this little slideshow, make it available to people after the fact. It's got some lovely, diverse, young, vibrant women in their pink t-shirts, and they're smiling, and they're hugging, and they're happy. And I'm not saying that women don't find new friendships and create bonds because of their experience with this disease. But again, I think we also know that there's a lot of, I'm going to use the term ignorance out there among people who've never been through this. So what are some things, if you're willing, and if not, I've got a few I'll share, but is anyone willing to share something that has been said to them by someone, whether it was, and it's okay if they meant it with the best of intentions, but if something felt inappropriate to you, it hurt your feelings, it felt insensitive, is anyone willing to share something that's been said to them during their experience? Okay.
I I think the thing that bothers me is when people say, oh, your treatments are over, you're good, you're done. This is great, now you can, move on.
You're good now, right?
I don't think anybody ever just moves on. I don't care how many years out.
I think you're right. And I think, again, when we talk about awareness, it's a difficult thing because I know I personally, there's a lot of aspects to my experience that I don't like to share. There's a lot of things that have been impacted within my life that I feel are very private. I talk about them in certain circles and certain occasions for education and connection, but I don't really want the whole world to know, right? And so when people look at me from the outside, they do think I'm fine. That's the one that I totally agree. That one always gets me too. People are like, especially I remember when my hair was growing back in after chemo and, people would just kind of catch on, or maybe they didn't know, but somehow it came up and they'd be like, oh, but you're good now, right? Okay, well, yeah, I'm good. I had massive surgery. I went through chemotherapy. I'm on pill for a daily pill for the next 10 years. I'm in surgical menopause. All of my joints hurt all of the time. Like, there's so many things. And then those are just some of the big things that are easy to throw out there. They don't necessarily know the worry and the fear, that we all live with as time goes on. Anyone else have something that they want to share? Okay.
When I was just diagnosed, several people would ask me if I had gone for my mammograms regularly. And then when I said yes, the next question was, well, where did you go for your mammogram? I always used to say, did I go through Joe's drive-through? It's like, that you must have done something wrong.
Right, that somehow this was, that's great. So in case anyone didn't hear that, the question was, well, did you get your annual mammograms? Well, you can have a mammogram one year, you could go faithfully every year, and you go back on time the next year, and something is there now. Or well, yes, you did. Oh, where did you get them? It must have been, as she said, Joe's drive-through mammogram. Well, we all know that that's not how this works, right? But yes, there is a lot of that. I know one that, especially I think among the younger crowd, maybe you hear it at all ages, but hey, at least you got a free boob job. Has anyone ever heard that one? Yeah, that's a fun one. And I think people are trying to be funny, and I get it. They're trying to make light of the situation, but I would trade this boob job in any day to go back to, to what I had and to not have to go through all of the rest of it. I think there's a lot of comparison that happens. Has anyone ever heard, oh, you got the easy cancer, or you got the good kind of cancer? The good kind of cancer. Now look, we all know that there are cancers out there and other diseases that have no treatment whatsoever. But cancer isn't a comparison. There is no good cancer, no matter what you go through. And the really hard part is that, especially online, as the world broadens and you get exposed to more and more people, I see this within our own community. I have women who feel like frauds because they might have had DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, which is sometimes called stage 0. Sometimes it's even referred to as precancer. But you know what? Women who've had that typically have to have treatment. They have to have surgery. They're still impacted. Or women in the pre-Viper community. I've seen arguments online of people who say that a woman who has a prophylactic mastectomy because she has an 87% lifetime risk of developing breast cancer, and she hopes not to have to go through that, doesn't deserve the term pre-Viper because it indicates that she's a survivor and she didn't actually go through cancer. Why are we doing this to each other? We don't need anyone else's help. We have the rest of the world doing it for us, right? So these are some of the things that it's important to bring this to light and to talk about it. Because ultimately, our job, our purpose here is to be good human beings. I really think that's our greatest purpose in this life, is to be good human beings, be good stewards of each other and of the earth. And so if we take care of ourselves and we take care of each other, this kind of stuff starts to go away. Identity. This was a big one for me. And I think identity is becoming more and more of something that we need to consider in the breast cancer community. There are many people experience breast cancer, not just women, and not all women wear pink. As we are emerging into an age where more and more people are feeling comfortable stepping into their true selves, into, sharing their gender identity, or living in the truth of who they are, that doesn't always align with maybe what we would see from the outside or what we would assign to someone. It's important that we are recognizing all people and finding ways to create support for them. There are men who get breast cancer, and there are people who are non-binary, who don't consider themselves a woman. There are people in the trans community who get breast cancer. There are people who are, maybe androgynous or in the non-binary, meaning they don't really subscribe to a man or a woman. And where do they fit in? Where does a young person who is trying to figure out who they are in their own bodies fit in when they go online or go to their local support group and everything is bright pink and very feminine from a very traditional standpoint? They may not feel welcome. They may not feel seen or heard for who they are and for who their experience is. I will tell you that when I started to realize this, kind of hit me one day. I was like, I am a 40-something-year-old white woman from an upper middle class background, and I don't feel seen or heard in my story. I feel like there's something going on there. Like, I feel like there's some irony there. Because of all people, you kind of think like, I am the story, right? Like, I'm the typical breast cancer survivor, but I don't love the word. I don't love the term. I tend to advocate for the fact that you don't have to be an advocate. Not every, this experience, what it was, I had a great saying one time. It was, advocacy is not a moral obligation of a cancer experience. I think that's part of that whole societal perception too, that we're all supposed to start running races and we're all supposed to start fundraising and whatever it is. It is great when people do that. It is also perfectly okay if you decide to set cancer aside and just live your life like you were as best you can. Not everyone is meant to be an advocate. Not everyone is going to wear the pink ribbon, and not everyone's going to go run races. And that doesn't mean that their experience isn't just as valid as everyone else's. So it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm curious if you find this harmful or helpful. And it's probably a bit of both. We know that, right? Nothing is black or white. Everything's shades of gray and some level of complexity. But I'd like you to raise your hand if you look forward to October every year. Okay, awesome. We got one. That's great. That's great. I have plenty of people in my life who really rally around Breast Cancer Awareness Month because they feel like this is the time when they finally have people are listening enough, right, to spread the word and to share it. How many people would like to shut their door, turn off the TV, and say, I'll see you on November 1st? Okay, and most people are probably somewhere in the middle, right? You kind of go about your life trying to do what it is you can do. I have a Facebook group for women impacted by breast cancer called As We Are Now, and it's really for women living in survivorship. And this is something we've been talking about a lot. And yeah, I get a lot of mixed messages. I have one woman in there who's very, strong in her determination to elevate elevate awareness around male breast cancer. So, that's her focus this month. She's going to shout from the rooftops about male breast cancer. Other people focus on, I have some friends who are really focused on flat awareness, and that they want to make sure that women know that aesthetic flat closure is an option and is a choice and a valid one, and that that it's not okay for your doctor to say to you, oh, well, how does your husband feel about that? Or, well, you really will be happier if you have breasts in the long run. And I have other friends, of course, who are focused on stage 4 awareness because they feel like that is really where it needs to be. So I think that one of the challenges of Breast Cancer Awareness Month is it really brings a very difficult experience that we've each had to the forefront of the world's view. And because of cancer culture, it's like they see you through these pink lenses. They see you through whatever baggage they have of a breast cancer story or experience. Maybe they lost someone to it and they're going to apply that experience to you. I know for me, Breast Cancer Awareness Month and the races and all of that started around the time my mom was going through it. And I remember we ran races in the beginning and she tried to advocate a little bit. And ultimately it was just too much for her. And so she decided she had to step back and just go back to being the woman she was, the wife, the mother, the friend, and she really had to take a step back in order to find her space where she felt grounded and normal in her own life. And I've always been appreciative of that. I know that sometimes I probably make it a little tough for her because I basically have ended up in breast cancer land, the intersection of personal and professional experience. And I know that sometimes when I talk about my work, it's challenging for her because me talking about all this stuff and bringing it to light has to put it in her face and make her think about it. And so I think it's just really important that when we are talking about all of this, that we're not just thinking about ourselves or our experience, but we're looking at everyone's. And I think that what we really need when it comes to breast cancer awareness, we need awareness of all breast cancers, and we need extra focus on stage 4. I think we need support for all people, not just women. I think we need an awareness of the whole story, not just what people think a breast cancer experience is, but actually taking the time to learn what it's really like to go through this disease. And I think we need to create the space to be ourselves and for other people to be themselves so that everyone gets to live their experience in the way that is true to them. So how do we get there? Well, it's about how you tell your story. This is your experience and there is no right or wrong. If you love Breast Cancer Awareness Month, then have at it. Do it the way that works for you. If you love the word survivor, wear that word proudly and use it. But before you use those words for everyone else who's been through this, maybe think about that experience, your experience, may not be true for someone else. So maybe you ask rather than assign. You can ask someone about their experience and the words they use rather than assigning yours to them. Like I said, I don't typically use words like survivor or thriver for myself, but I met a woman online who calls herself a breast cancer conqueror, and she explained that her name means conqueror. And I thought, well then, that's what I'm gonna call you. I'm not gonna hold that back from her. If that's how she expresses herself and tells her story, I'm happy to use that word for her. I just don't want her to use it for me because it's not mine. And by doing all that, by just taking that little bit of time to be thoughtful about this and maybe ask a question or reflect on something before we start talking about it, we're able to honor everyone's experience and use the words that they use for themselves and use our words for ourselves. I recently was connecting with someone in my group about Breast Cancer Awareness Month and all these different things and kind of how people are processing. And I always say every year I want to show up in some big way, and I want to get online and I want to talk about the things that matter to me, like stage 4 awareness and like cancer culture and all of these things. And I'm going to be honest, I think I put 2 posts up on Instagram this month because it's too much for me. It's too distracting. It's very triggering to me. And that's something I'm working on healing on my own because I do think it's a healing process, truthfully. But we were talking back and forth about each other and kind of just I don't even remember, it doesn't really even matter what the specific conversation was. But this is what she left me with. She said, I see you seeing me. And even now that moment, take that statement makes me tear up. Because what more do any of us want in this world than to be seen and valued for who we are and acknowledged for who we are, not just the things that have happened to us. So I'll leave you with that from this part of me talking, and I'd love to open it up to any thoughts or questions about this topic tonight. But I hope that you all walk out of here knowing that I see you seeing me, and I hope that you know that I see you for who you each are. And I honor that and respect that. And I thank you so much for being here tonight to share this time with me. All right, that's all I've got to say. Yeah, does anyone have anything they would like to share? Anything, any thoughts, any stories, any questions? Yeah,
My first October.
yeah,
Because going through it during COVID, it's actually been a fun because things are coming out now that I didn't have access to.
okay,
So there's so much I had to do by myself. So it's nice that, and in one aspect that I could be here.
absolutely.
Yeah, because of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, one of the great things about Breast Cancer Awareness Month is there is so much focus on the experience, right? And so because of that, there is a much brighter light shined on things that are available to us, you know, like support, like different groups. And to be honest, it changes over time too. I think that, you know, how you feel about it at this point might not always be how you feel about it down the road. I also think it's about how you want to feel about it. Like any of this stuff, any of this stuff to do with cancer culture, you know, cancer culture, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and even your own experience. I think it's about looking at different aspects of it and saying, am I comfortable with how I feel about this? Does this sit well with me? I actually don't love the fact that I don't love Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I may never go out and, you know, like run a race in a tutu or whatever, but I'd really like to be less triggered by it. I'd like to be more comfortable with it. I can advocate all the rest of the year, but this month just kind of gets me. And maybe it's just too much. Maybe it's too much in my face. I'd like to work on that because I'd like to get to the point where I don't feel October creeping on and I'm not sorry to see it go, because October's a great month. There's so much good stuff outside of breast cancer awareness. Like, you know, there's Halloween and there's apple picking and there's crisp days, not today, but apparently coming soon. Like there's, you know, it's fall, like it's great. There's so much good stuff. And when I like know that I'm focused on just getting through this particular event, I'm also missing out on a lot. So, you know, it would be nice for me to be able to personally feel that. And I think that's something to consider too, is that no matter where you are, it won't always be that way. Anyone else? I don't know if we have anything in the chat. Okay, cool. Yeah, Rob was monitoring it, so I think we're good. And please, if you are watching this and you'd like to chime in with anything on Zoom, please do.
I have something that
Yeah.
I would share.
Okay.
So when Amy was talking, well, I mentioned earlier that I'm a 16-year survivor. And I use the term survivor because I am still surviving 16 years after being diagnosed with breast cancer. But 16 years, I've changed a lot. My opinion has changed a lot during that time. And I think that Amy's point of anything that you feel is really valid. It doesn't have to be what other people feel, but at the same time, it's okay if the pink ribbon does mean a lot to you. I remember I was diagnosed in April, and the following June, 2 months later, my husband and one of my daughters immediately did the Komen race, which, you know, and everybody was supportive of it. We all went out and got the rubber pink bracelets, and, you know, pink ribbon everything. People sent me stuff and I thought it was all great. I won't say that I came to resent the pink ribbon. What I got to resent was the pink washing.
Yeah.
Which I've learned a lot over the years. These companies that are doing all these things supposedly to raise money for breast cancer and nothing goes toward breast cancer. When people used to say, yes, you're so strong, I used to think, what choice do you have? You know, you can't roll up into a ball and just stay. Well, you can actually.
Yeah.
That's valid
That's,
too.
yep, that's an
But
option.
if you want to get healthier, and you respect your doctors, you do what your doctors tell you to do. I don't know that it makes you strong. It just makes you somebody who wants to get better. Not to repeat it because I've already said it multiple times, but in case anybody doesn't know, I'm also the chairperson of our TLC Totes Committee. And even in that role, my feelings have changed a lot. We now give memberships, complimentary memberships to this organization to women who receive totes. That wasn't something we used to do. Maybe we've been doing it for 5 or 6 years. And we write a welcome, there's a welcome letter that's in there. And I've had to rewrite it sometimes, like because of COVID and everything. And I find that I'm changing the wording in that letter because, and this is true, my co-chair, Pat Rogers, and I, when we first wrote it, I know it ends something like, we wish you comfort, peace, and hope. And that is what we want for people to have. But I used to say something in there like, one of the best things about coming to BCN is you, as Judy said before, you get to meet people who've been through this before. But I used to say, and we can assure you that your life will return to normal. And I've taken that phrase out of there because what even is normal anymore? It's always there somewhere. And that's not for you more recently diagnosed people to think that, oh, I'm constantly living with this breast cancer thing hanging over me, because it's not that at all. I mean, there was a time where, and it probably was a couple of years where it was the first thing on my mind every day, and multiple times during the day. And that does go away. That does go away. And I've had so much.
Is the word diminish.
Diminish.
Yes.
It's, well, but I mean, the waking every day with it,
Diminishes.
it diminishes. But there's been so much joy in my life. And so, yeah, there's a lot of normal stuff, but it never goes away completely. So I think however you feel, you know, if it is a big deal to you, it's okay. If it's not a big deal, and that's the other thing when we give out totes, you know, some people will come in for a tote and we'll sit with them for an hour or an hour and a half. Other people just come in, they grab their tote, they don't want to know anything more about it. They never come back to BCN, and that's all fine too. It's like there's so many things, but I just think that what you said about I see you, I think that's really important to remember, that all of these feelings are valid and that they can change in time too. So I don't know, I just wanted to share
Well,
that.
And I think that's kind of, you know, the crux of it is that just, you know, what you're saying is so true, that we are, you can have, if we had 100 people in this room tonight, if we had 100 women in this room tonight, who'd all have breast cancer, we would still have 100 unique breast cancer experiences, because every single one of you is unique, every single one of you is individual, and everything else that makes you up and has happened in your life is a part of what shapes your breast cancer experience. And so I think that is sometimes a little bit of the challenge with cancer culture, and even with trying to sum up something as massive as however many millions of women and men, you know, people, I keep trying to even correct myself, people go through this experience. When we try to sum up with the symbol of one pink ribbon, we lose, you know, we risk losing the identities of all of those individuals. And so I think that the pink ribbon has a purpose. What I would really like to see is a little bit more focus on the people behind the ribbon, the individuals that we are. And again, it's kind of one person at a time, right? It's all of us just taking that to think on, taking that to heart, and then going out in the world and doing it the way we're going to do it, you know? And if this is the last time you ever think about cancer culture, that's great. That's great. You know, I appreciate you listening. But maybe, you know, maybe it'll help you feel more confident telling someone if someone says something to you that does feel insensitive or doesn't feel true to you. Maybe you'll feel a little more confident educating them and saying, you know, no, that's actually not something that's really great to say, you know, or for me, that's not something that I feel is really helpful. You know, I think most of the people in my life now know that not to send me a shirt that says "Save the Tatas." Just not my thing. And I think I have a pretty good sense of humor, but that one doesn't really do it for me, you know? So it's all about what works for each of us. Yeah. Yeah, Mary.
I'm Carolyn's
Okay.
mom, as you know. And I was just thinking, I'd sort of forgotten this. She came into the world on a beautiful fall day like today, October 16th.
Oh,
And she had the most beautiful green eyes. And I just fell in love with her at first sight. I was very ill when I hit her, but I recovered beautifully. And then when she went out of this world when she was 44, through much struggle and much trying to take trials and helping other people and caring about other people and determined to live through it. Again, it was October 10th, which was 2 days ago.
yeah.
I don't know if it's my favorite month, but it was a month of much joy and much heartache. But I'm so glad that I had her. I'm sorry we had to share that, of all things.
Yeah.
And other daughters have too now. But I just am very proud of her, and I'm so excited that when I die, I will see her. It doesn't make me want to jump off a cliff because I have other issues too. But it certainly makes it seem a lot more beckoning. And I bet she's up there doing good works.
I bet so.
And I think it's a very difficult woman's disease and other people's disease. And I hope we're going to find something, but medicine is becoming more of a mystery than ever. Thank you.
It is. Thank you. And for those who maybe
Yes.
knew or don't know, Carolyn is the lovely woman on the wall over there who this place was built for and named for. Is that the appropriate way to say it? I know the story. I haven't had the opportunity myself to tell it a lot, but
I'll just
Yeah.
share. And Mary, I intended to introduce you tonight. You're on my sheet. No, I'm sorry, because I had you on there and I meant to do it. But Carolyn never saw this place, but it was Carolyn's wish that a center could be built for people. The organization existed. We used to meet in homes and then churches, but Carolyn wanted a center that everybody could go to and kind of feel like it's their home, where they could be just with other people who've been through it. And, you know, we do the classes and all of that, but she wanted this wellness center. And her husband very generously donated the space to us, and we built this place, you know, this, I don't know, I don't want to call it a business, but we built Bella. The name of the building, Bella Moglie, means beautiful wife in Italian, which Carolyn and Jim were not Italian, but they owned olive groves in Italy and, you know, had a love for the Italian countryside. And that's why the name is Bella Moglie. And Mary said to me tonight, she always feels so good when she comes here. And those of us who have been here a lot, it's a feeling that kind of just is pervasive. Whatever the pink ribbon or any of this means to you, it's wonderful to know what it means to Mary. And thank you so much for sharing tonight what you did about Carolyn. So, okay, well, if there is not anything else at this point.
about on time, right?
Yeah,
7:30,
oh yeah,
so
we're
about-
good. We're
right.
perfect. That's 2 months in a row, so for both of us. We'll end the meeting. You're welcome though to stay for anything informal that you'd like. Talk to any of the board members, talk to each other. We will be having the support group meeting in the support room, which is just down the wall there for anybody who's not familiar. Judy will be facilitating. So anything else from anyone? Well, thank you all so much for coming and we hope to see you next month.
Oh, let me,
Oh, wait, Amy?
yeah, just real quick, we'll be getting this up on the website, I believe this week, on open registration, but next month's educational night will actually be with, the team from Her Kitchen in North Buffalo, and they're gonna do like a plant-based eating 101. They're gonna talk about how easy and healthy and tasty plant-based eating can be, how you can incorporate it into your life in simple ways. They're gonna give us some recipes. And Sue Morial, who owns Her Story, Her Sanctuary, and Her Kitchen, is actually also a breast cancer survivor, just use that word, of 15 years, I believe. And so she's gonna talk about how plant-based eating has been a part of her life and her journey into staying healthy and feeling fulfilled. So I hope you'll be able to join us for that, second Tuesday in November. Thanks, everybody.